I used to go to work on West Gray Street in Richmond, Virginia. I managed the first Kinko's copies in the city, and I thought I was doing okay for my first year out of college. I was 22, single, and living the dream while saving up enough money to go to graduate school. Apparently, I was also something of a jerk. One morning while returning from an errand on foot, I spotted Luther on the corner of Schaefer and Broad Street. Now, Luther was a panhandling fixture in the area. He wandered up and down Broad Street with a crutch under first one arm and then the other. Sometimes he was just carrying it. And he would request money from passers-by for bus fare to get to his doctor's appointment out at St. Luke's Hospital, which was many miles away from downtown. Well, everybody knew the line. He wasn't going to use it for bus fare. And I don't doubt that he knew that we knew. But most folks would give him a quarter or whatever loose change they had and smile and move on. Good morning, Luther. Sure, here you go. See you later. But not me. No. Luther started telling me his story as I was crossing the street. And I stopped digging, I stopped and started digging in my pocket looking for some change. And then I had a cunning plan to expose his fraud once and for all. I thought, Luther, I have some business out on Parham Avenue, or Parham Road, which is where St. Luke's Hospital was. I said, if you'll wait here, I'll go get my car and you can ride with me to your hospital appointment. I was so clever. Well, Luther's eyes met mine for the briefest second, and I saw the disappointment in them. I was not playing by the rules, and my actions were clearly designed to make him look foolish. Luther walked away in silence, and I went back to work, feeling quite pleased with my cleverness. It was a throwaway exchange, but 37 years later, I still remember it as if it were yesterday. I had made sport of humiliating a man who was apparently just trying to survive. I had acted judge and jury on the appropriateness of Luther's actions. And I had feigned kindness with malicious intent. I had revealed myself to be a goat in my actions toward one whom Jesus called one of the least of these. And Jesus told his disciples in today's gospel lesson that when the Son of Man comes in glory, he will separate all the people before him, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. Those at his right hand, the sheep, will inherit the kingdom prepared for them from the foundation of the world. And those at his left hand, those goats, well, they will go into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. But how does the Son of Man distinguish between the sheep and the goats? Well, the sheep are the ones who showed mercy. The sheep are the ones who welcomed, fed, clothed, visited, and cared for Jesus when he was in need. And even though they didn't recognize Jesus and the folks they were serving, Jesus assured them that just as you did it to the least of one of these who are members of my family, you did it to me. The same principle applies to the goats, except they're the ones who did not embrace and help the least of these. But it's not that simple, is it? I mean, sometimes the least of these smell funny, or lack cleanliness, or talk nonsense and gibberish, or they make us uneasy or nervous or afraid. Sometimes they seem so completely different from us that we don't know what we could possibly have in common. But we do have a commonality. We share the image of God in the very fabric of our being. We share a biology. We share a biology that puts survival ahead of all other concerns. We share an inborn need for relationship with each other and with God. I believe we people of faith are traditionally great at sizing folks up, of separating the sheep from the goats, or should I say the sheik from the gauche. The sheik we place at our right hand, or on our vestry, or our committees, or guilds, or in our pews. And the gauche, well, we send on their way. We're a pretty discriminating people. Our ranks are filled with the right people who are there for the right reasons. We are, in a sense, God's frozen chosen. We guard our ranks and our assets with equal fervor. We're willing that anybody can be a Christian. But we must decide who can be one of us, who can be a Christian like us. We close our facilities to those who don't regularly attend our church services. We parse our charity through arbitrary filters of worthiness. And in matters of morality, I'm afraid we default to hypocrisy. A couple of years ago, one of the local civic groups had a luncheon and a speaker in our parish house. And they had use of our wonderful commercial kitchen, which is such a draw. And someone messed up the coffee maker. They didn't read the instructions carefully or whatever, and they accidentally put coffee grounds in the water-only tank flow-through system. And the result was shocking. It probably worked for their purposes, but the next day when I went to make coffee, ran my water through there to get it ready, the water, instead of coming out clear, came out coffee colored. It was brown. It was quite a surprise. And it only took me about 30 minutes to clean out the machine and run enough water through it to have it as good as new. And I guess that I shouldn't have told anybody. At the next meeting of the vestry, a motion carried to no longer allow outsiders to utilize our parish house for meetings or receptions or for anything. It was simply too risky, and something might get damaged or irreplaceably lost. The parish house use, we decided, should be one of the benefits of membership in our hand-selected flock of sheep. Why should we support folks who aren't supporting us? And I know that seems harsh, but that's what I saw. And if that makes you uncomfortable or angry, that's all the better. I've learned from experience that often we must be shocked into listening. We must be made to engage emotionally with a concept in order to consider it deeply. And anger is a strong emotion. The fact of the matter is that we are deciding who is worthy and who is not. Who gets access and who is turned away. And if we believe that this is what we're supposed to be doing, I sense that we're on a path to nowhere. We must not continue to hide behind the church and pretend that our actions corporately cover for our actions individually. Refusing charity in the name of the church is still refusing charity. The living least of these, made in the image of God, is more important than the struggling institution called the church that was made in the image of man's ambition to control God. Nearly 40 years ago, I went out of my way to one-up and shame Luther for what I saw as his perpetrating a fraud on honest, hard-working people. What I really accomplished was to ridicule a man for surviving as best he could, and proving to a stranger what a complete jackass I could be. I didn't realize it at the time, but Luther walked away on the moral high ground that day. The older I get, the more I realize what flawed and fragile creations are the people of God. We're flawed because we have such a strong desire to protect and preserve everything. Our lives, our assets, our dignity, our ideas, our hubris. But we're fragile because we're not designed to do that. Being creatures in the image of God means that we are predisposed to give away. We're predisposed to create abundant life and to love unstintingly. And when we try to do otherwise, when we embrace the flaw of our being, we threaten to destroy the good that is in us. The sheep and the goat live within each of us. And it's up to us which Christ will find at last. Go in peace to love and serve the Lord.